Good morning, folks. I hope everybody is healthy. I hope everybody is well. And I hope everybody is having a great morning. My name is Jonathan Maxson. I'm a social studies teacher at Haddonfield Middle School. Haddonfield is a small suburb located right outside of the great city of Philadelphia. I am so excited to be with everyone this morning. For today's lesson, I want all of you to look at history as a story. Every story has characters. You and I are going to be the characters for today's story. Usually, a story involves a journey or a quest to far off places where the characters find new discoveries. They interact with new groups of people, and they encounter problems along the way. And more often than not, there is a life lesson to be learned about how to build a better future moving forward. With that, I can promise you that this will not be like your typical social studies class. Who's ready to go on an adventure? All you need is an open mind, your wits, and a sense of imagination. But first, we need to prepare for our long journey. Let's look at the whiteboard right here. Here's a list of everyday things that many people probably don't really think twice about. Things like chewing gum, things like fairy tales, and probably this is super popular for a lot of you, but the app TikTok. But where the heck did these things even come from? I want all of you folks to take a few moments to look at these 8 items above me and try to figure out, where did these things originate from? So, what do you folks think? Did anyone come up with the United States for the place of origin for at least one of these 8 things? Well, the crazy thing is, believe it or not, none of these 8 things here on the whiteboard originated from the United States of America. So let's figure out where these things came from. First, democracy. The idea of democracy, the implementation of democracy, came from the Greeks. Democracy gives a voice to the people. It gives them an active role in the government. For example, adults like myself, I can go out to the voting booth to let my voice be heard. Another example, all citizens have rights that are protected by the government. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, to express who you truly are. Democracy, my friends, came from the Greeks. 2, Kit Kats. I'm sure many of you out there love Kit Kats. I can tell you personally, many of my middle schoolers are obsessed with that chocolatey, wafer, crunchy candy. But it did not come from the United States. Kit Kats originated from across the pond in York, England. Blue jeans, one of the more popular articles of clothing, that did not come from the United States. It came from Bavaria. Number 4, chewing gum. Chewing gum, where I know a lot of students like to bring into school. Chewing gum actually came from our southern neighbor, the awesome country of Mexico. They're the ones who came up with the concept of chewing gum. 5, ice cream. Ice cream, another popular treat, and that came from China. Hockey. I love hockey personally. Let's go Flyers. Hockey came from our northern neighbor in a region of Canada. And the story tales that I brought up earlier, one of them being Hansel and Gretel. Popular fairy tale, movies, TV shows made of it, did not come from the United States. It came from Germany. And lastly, I know this is the one everybody was waiting for, TikTok. Countless students across America have TikTok. Countless even adults have TikTok across America. But we did not find this ingenious invention. Just like ice cream, China invented TikTok. So, I want everyone to take a moment to think about what that might mean. All of these things, all 8 of these things right here, came from another country. They came from another culture. So, how did these things come into our country? How did these things come into your culture, come into my culture? Well, think about your culture for a moment. The very thing that makes you, you. The very thing that makes you unique. What are your favorite foods? What kinds of music do you listen to? Well, let me give you an example. I am a black belt in Taekwondo. You can see my name right here. Well, I consider this martial art right here to be a part of my culture. The martial art, the philosophies, the teachings, all of that is a part of my identity. But it didn't come from the United States of America, the place I was born and raised. No, it originated in Korea, came to the United States, where it was introduced to thousands of people, including me. That, folks, is called cultural diffusion. Cultural diffusion is the spread of goods. It's the spread of ideas from one culture to another. We have all experienced this, whether we realized it or not. Who here loves pasta? Oh, I love pasta. I'm eating it tonight. Who here loves peanut butter? I'm a peanut butter fiend. Who here loves chocolate? I love chocolate. Well, believe it or not, all of those foods came from another country. They came from another group of people in a different spot around the world. This morning, we are going to experience cultural diffusion firsthand by going across the Silk Road. Yes, I am being 100% serious. We are going to travel the Silk Road. And if you look to my left or my right, it's going to pop up here somewhere for you folks, so you can get a better idea of what that might look like. But who's heard of the Silk Road? What is it? Where is it? Think about that for a few moments. The Silk Road is a network of trade routes. A network of trade routes that stretches from Europe all the way to China right here. And it also goes into modern day India, modern day Iraq, modern day Iran, modern day Pakistan. And travelers were able to share their cultures to all different groups of people and help it spread across the world. As we, you and I, journey across the Silk Road, we are going to end our journey in China itself. These are the 5 destinations that we are going to be traveling to. Folks, in total, we'll be traveling about 5,000 miles. Now, let me put that into perspective for all of you sitting at home. The Silk Road was longer than the United States of America from coast to coast. Most people chose not to make the entire journey, but lucky for us, all of you will be with me. And we're not like most people. We will travel the Silk Road and we'll be visiting different cities and different countries. And while we're doing so, you need to keep these things in mind. Adventure seekers at home, without further ado, grab your adventure caps, get your satchels, grab whatever you may have at home, and let's travel the Silk Road. We are at our first stop. Everyone, welcome to Antioch. Before we move any further though, I want all of you folks at home to take a good look at our surroundings. What are some of the things that you notice? How does the architecture look? And we're even near a body of water. Could it be an ocean? Take a few moments to guess where Antioch is in the world. Let's see. It looks like there are temples here with massive marble columns. And what the heck? If you look close enough, it looks like someone is leaving a pool or a public bath. Adventure seekers, if you had not guessed already, we're in part of the mighty Roman Empire. Way back then, the earliest being 64 BC, Antioch was located near the Syria-Turkey region along the Mediterranean Sea. Antioch was a major trading city on the Silk Road because of a useful geographic feature. Now, what do you think made trading easy here? Yes! The Mediterranean Sea is the geographic feature here that made trading easier, that made it more accessible. Antioch could take their glassware or any other items that they traded for and ship them out all over the world using the Mediterranean Sea. This helped make them one of the strongest and wealthiest places in the world during this time. And since we are in Antioch, we better greet anyone we encounter here in Latin. That is the primary main language spoken in Antioch. And believe it or not, the English language itself came from Latin. Oh, I see someone. Folks, let's say salve, which is a friendly greeting in Latin. This is how we're going to build bridges with people from different cultures, from different places around the world. by speaking, learning, and communicating with their language. Come on, let's give it a try. On the count of 3, let's say salve. 1, 2, 3. Folks, this is amazing. I bet half of you sitting at home are looking at me like I'm half crazy. Mr. Maxson, it's just a cup. This isn't any old cup though. It is glass. Yes, back then, glass was a huge deal. Not many places had it. China, the place we're eventually going to end up, did not have this glass. It was so highly sought after. The Chinese products valued glass so they can make vases and bottles and use it for decorative purposes and practical purposes. We can use the glass right here to trade and get new items when we visit new places. Plus, we're going to help people around the world by introducing them to new things, to new items, new products, and new goods. Trust me, we're going to be helping a lot of people out here. Well, Antioch was good to us. We learned about a new place. We learned the new language spoken here, Latin. And we got some pretty cool goods like this glass right here. Now, we are on to the next part of our journey. Let's take a look at the map behind me. We are in Antioch. Our next location is here. Who at home is a geographer? Are we traveling north, south, east, or west? I'll give you a moment. Come on. Oh. Wait a moment. I forgot to warn you. Traveling along the Silk Road can be dangerous. On our journey, I need everyone at home to be on high alert. Take note of some of the dangers that come our way. Think to yourself, why did people take all of these risks? Why are we taking these risks right now? A constant issue when traveling, regardless of where you are at on the Silk Road, could be the wildlife. Outside of Antioch, there were dangerous animals that roamed about, including wolves and bears. If we are going to get to our next destination, we need to avoid these wild animals. Adventurers, I need you to get up with me, stand up, stretch out, and get ready to dodge some wolves and some bears. All right, jump to the right, jump to the left, dodge. Folks, that was a close one. Let's keep the journey rolling. We are now at stop number 2, Ctesiphon. Folks, this looks quite different than our last stop in Antioch. If you look close enough out there, it looks like we're right up against the Tigris River. Watch. As you folks can see, the soil looks pretty fertile here as well. So, based off of that information, what part of the world might we be in? Think about the Tigris River, which you may have learned about in a previous social studies class. I'll give you a moment. Yup, we are in the Middle East. Specifically, Ctesiphon is in modern-day Iraq. Since we are in a completely different part of the world, there will definitely be new people who speak another language and definitely have new goods and items to trade for. During this time, the majority of native people in Tesafin did not speak Latin, nor did they speak Chinese. Instead, they spoke Arabic. This part of their culture, the language of Arabic, was the uniting factor and brought the people together. As a matter of fact, look, I see someone across the way. Folks, let's see if they want to trade glass, which we got in Antioch, for a new item or a new good, a new product. If we want their attention, we need to show them that we're invested, that we appreciate their culture by speaking their language, the language of Arabic. So let's practice. Let's greet this traveler by saying salam, which signals peace in Arabic. On the count of 3, let's say salam. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Items like perfume and carpets were a specialty in Tesafin and were highly desirable in places like China. You might be thinking, well, why does a carpet matter? Well, think about it. You may have a carpet at home, or you might have a carpet in your school. Why? Well, first, this carpet looks really cool. Notice the geometric shapes and the geometric patterns and designs. This highlights the Persian, the Middle Eastern culture, which can be seen and highlighted in a lot of their artwork. Second, it's a place where you can kick the dirt off your shoes, the mud off your shoes, and it saves time for cleaning. And trust me, after standing in the fertile soil near the Tigris River, we're going to need this carpet. And why perfume? Why do people use it today? To make people or to make yourself smell good. Back during ancient times, the majority of people didn't have access to bathing water, even if you were rich and wealthy and powerful. Perfume was a temporary solution to solve this stinky problem. Well, onwards and upwards. Our next destination takes us to Kashgar. The journey to Kashgar is not easy by any means, folks. Look what we have to overcome. Yup, that's right. Mountains. Specifically, the Pamir Mountains. This mountain range stretches throughout Central Asia. The Pamir Mountains are as high as 20,000 feet, which is among the highest in the world. Unfortunately, many traders do not survive this kind of travel. Why is this close to impossible? Think about this for a moment. I'm sure you folks at home came to this conclusion. The higher you climb results in less oxygen. That means it's harder to breathe. This can result in dizziness. This can result in a loss of hearing. It can also result in excruciating headaches. The paths can be so narrow that it would make travel for animals difficult and close to impossible. And on top of that, the weather doesn't help much either. The higher you climb, the more frigid it becomes. The journey through the Pamir Mountains is known as the Trail of Bones. If I'm going to make it over this mountain range to our next destination, I need your help. On the count of 3, I need you to cheer me on wherever you are at from home if we're going to get over these Pamir Mountains. 1, 2, 3. We made it. We did the impossible. We did the impossible together. Folks, Kashgar is an exciting place. Whenever any traveler reached Kashgar, they would be right in the midst of trading, diversity, and companionship. Now, why is that? Let's take a look at our map. Notice where Kashgar is in relation to our past and our future stops. I'll give you a moment. There we go. Kashgar is right at the center of the Silk Road, is the central meeting point for Europe, the Middle East, and China. Since it's smack right dab in the middle, what can we expect to find here? That's right, diverse groups of people from all over the world. Different languages being spoken and all kinds of goods and products being traded. Folks, this is what cultural diffusion really looks like. Specifically, the people of India had easy access to Kashgar. They were able to bring some unique goods like spices and elephant tusks. These things had a ton of value, well, because, where else can you find an elephant tusk? It would be awesome if we could try to trade for some of these items. Our next greeting in Kashgar is Namaste. Many people around the world are familiar with this term because it's associated with yoga. But it is actually Hindi, and the saying is a sign or a signal that shows great respect. On the count of 3, say Namaste so we can get one of these diverse travelers' attention. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Let's see what we got here. Well, first, spices. Spices are a great find on the Silk Road. What do we use spices for at home today, or maybe in the cafeteria at school or a restaurant you might visit? Exactly. We use them for seasoning and to make our food taste better. Actually, back during these ancient civilizations, they used spices in their medicines. And these tusks are ivory, which is extremely rare and hard to come by. Ivory can be used to make pipes, and it can be used to sculpt unique statues or sculptures. As we're leaving Kashgar, we need to be cautious. Look around at our surroundings. Where exactly are we? Yup, we are in a desert. Kashgar is special because it's immersed in unique and different environments. First, it is near an oasis, and that is essential for survival. An oasis is a spot in the desert where travelers can find water, they can find vegetation, for example, like palm tree leaves. But as we venture further out of Kashgar, as you folks at home can see, we find ourselves in one of the most unforgiving deserts in the entire world. The Taklamakan Desert. This desert is one of the longest, it's one of the most vast in the area. But I am confident that we're gonna find our way out of this desert. You know why? Because we have each other. The best and most effective way to get out of the Taklamakan Desert is to travel with a caravan. A caravan is a group of people who travel across the desert with one another, have each other's backs, and gets from point A to point B. And guess what? Yes, adventure seekers, all of us, you and me, together, we make up this caravan. Still, we do need to proceed with caution. Conditions in the Taklamakan Desert can be unpredictable. The days can be scorching hot, and then the nights can be frigid cold. Sandstorms can make travel by foot near impossible, and sandstorms come aplenty. But this is why we use camels. They are our best friends out here. Why are they so important? Well, first, the camels are big and strong. Look at the humps on their back. It can store water for a week at a time. And perhaps more interestingly, their long eyelashes keep the sand out of their eyes. So, folks, what does that mean? It means that they can help us travel through a sandstorm. So, if you have a trusty steed, go get him now and hop on. If not, we have plenty right here for all of us. We can ride through this together. Hold your traded goods tightly. Make sure you cover your eyes. There's a storm a-coming, folks. Thanks, camels. This has been a tough journey, but I don't know about you folks. I find it to be so rewarding. We are only one stop away from our final destination. But for now, we are in the city of Kucha. This city is in northwestern China, fairly close to Mongolia. And that's right, the language spoken here is Mongolian. I am positive many of you sitting and watching at home have learned about, or at least heard about, a famous Mongolian figure. Yes, the infamous and ruthless Genghis Khan. But fortunate for you and I, we do not have to face him on this journey. Or at least I hope. Kucha has an incredibly unique culture that centers on the religion of Buddhism. Buddhism comes from the teachings of the Buddha. The concept of karma, which is the belief that certain actions have consequences, comes from this branch of faith. Travelers along the Silk Road would learn about Buddhism when they came to Kucha from monks, or AKA religious teachers. They would then bring it back to their homes or to other countries, and then from there, the religion of Buddhism would spread throughout. What concept does that remind you of? What concept is that called? Think back to what was written on the whiteboard in the office. Yup, that's right. Cultural diffusion. Folks, I know I sound like a broken record, but it is so important for us to see what cultural diffusion is around the world. Kucha was the place along the Silk Road to find gold. Even today, gold has value. Think about watches or bracelets, necklaces, coins. Some of those items are made from gold. Now, let's try to trade for some gold here. Remember, we need to speak Mongolian if we want to try to communicate with the people here. Let's give it a try. Let's try to trade for gold, and in return, we'll give some spices. So, on the count of 3, we're going to give a friendly hello to the people over here by saying Sainu. 1, 2, 3. We're almost at our final destination, but as I repeatedly said throughout our journey, more dangers await. Think about some of the obstacles that you and I have had to overcome on our adventure. 1, wild animals. 2, the Pamir Mountains. 3, sandstorms. But what haven't we yet had to encounter? I'll give you a moment. Yes, that's right. People, bandits would hide outside of Kucha. They would attack unsuspecting and unprepared travelers. Traders like you and I could come all of this way and end up losing our valuables, the goods, the items that we traded for. But I promise you, like I have throughout this entire journey, that's not going to happen when you're traveling with me. Let's go. Sea adventures? I told you we were prepared to face and beat the bandits. And look, we still have all of our items and our goods. And we are at our final destination. Welcome to Dunhua. From the Chinese point of view, this was a perfect place for trade. Why is that? Take a moment. Take a moment and look around at our surroundings. What famous landmark are we near? Yes, that, my friends, is the Great Wall of China. Today, it is a regularly visited tourist attraction, but for the Chinese people during ancient times, it was used for protection. Dunhuang was a city that revolved around the military. Dunhuang translates to the blazing beacon. This refers to beacons that would be lit throughout the entire city if there was an attack. If we travel deeper into Dunhuang, we can visit deep caverns where travelers would leave little Buddhas. Come on, let's check it out. Here are the caverns. They're pretty cool, right? Now, if you think back to our last stop in Kucha, what influence might they have had on the statues here in these caverns? This is a tricky question, so I'll give you a moment. Yes, that's right. The religion of Buddhism was brought here from travelers in Kucha when they came to Dunhuang. Folks, like we've been saying from the beginning, items and ideas were traded and shared on the Silk Road. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Drum roll, please. We're about to come full circle on our journey. Remember, we just traveled along the Silk Road. So, what item did the Chinese trade here? Exactly. They traded silk. Silk was the perfect trading item because it was A, valuable, and B, it was light to carry. Large amounts of silk were carried throughout all the trade routes on the Silk Road. So silk is the sought-after item that many people traveled for to get. Places like Rome wanted silk so badly so they could make new clothes and decorations. There was even a limit on how much silk citizens could have. We wouldn't have come all this way, folks, if we didn't want to trade for silk. In order to do this, let's greet a trader or a traveler here in Mandarin. Mandarin is the spoken language that is used by many here in China. So, sadly, for the final time today, let us greet someone in Mandarin by saying ni hao. And ni hao translates simply to hello. So, adventure seekers, on the count of 3, let's say ni hao. 1, 2, 3. The highly sought after silk. All right, folks. Who's ready to now travel all the way back 5,000 miles? Just kidding. I'll get us back in a jiffy. Adventurers, we did it. We traveled along the Silk Road. We traveled from Europe all the way to China. And you better believe it. Something like this is an adventure on an epic scale. We traveled thousands of miles, visited far-off places with new people and new languages. We traded for a satchel full of new goods and items, and we overcame numerous obstacles along the way, and you could argue that's an understatement. And hopefully, we picked up that valuable life lesson that I mentioned earlier. And we did all this together. Now, we accomplished a heck of a lot. Let's break it down. Question 1. Who can remember all 5 of the cities that we visited? All right, so let's see if you folks at home can remember where we visited. Remember, we started off in Antioch. Then we traveled to Ctesiphon, which is modern-day Iraq. Our midway point was Kashgar. Then we went to Kucha, and we ended our journey in Dunhuang. Question 2. What did traders from Antioch trade? Traders traded glassware. We take glassware for granted here, but this was an unknown commodity throughout Asia, and it carried tremendous value in countries like China. All right, so question 3. What did traders from Dunhuang trade? So, silk was the primary product traded there. It was highly sought after in places throughout Europe and beyond. So question 4. What other products do we trade for along the Silk Road? And where did these products come from? So we traded for a ton of products in addition to glassware and silk. In Tessifin, we traded for perfume and we traded for carpets. Carpets with geometric shapes, designs, patterns, and this was common in a lot of Middle Eastern artwork. In Kashgar, we were able to trade for spices and we were able to trade for ivory, which came from elephant tusks. And we were able to get two distinctly different types of items and things from Kucha. An item we were able to get was gold. Gold had tremendous value. It still has value to this day. But we were also able to pick something else along the way. And that was the religion, the idea of Buddhism. It wasn't an item you can necessarily hold. It was an idea that people were able to trade for and spread throughout. What were some of the difficulties or some of the dangers of traveling on the Silk Road? We had to overcome 4 dangers, 4 obstacles. The first being wild animals. Remember, we had to dodge the wild animals as they were coming towards us. 2, we had to scale the Pamir Mountains. The higher that we climbed on the Pamir Mountains, the less oxygen we received. And that resulted in dizziness. It resulted in a loss of senses like hearing. It could result in excruciating headaches. 3, we had to navigate our way through the Taklamakan Desert. The desert was so vast, it was so long, and the conditions were unpredictable. The days could be excruciatingly hot, and the nights could be frigid cold. In order to survive that ordeal, we had to rely on our trusty steeds. We had to rely on our camels. Remember, camels had special features like eyelashes. Those eyelashes helped camels maneuver during sandstorms. And we had each other. We had each other in our caravans, having each other's backs. And the last obstacle we had to overcome were bandits. We didn't travel 5,000 miles for some people to steal our items and our valuables. Together, we were able to ward them off. You folks are doing an excellent job. So what were some of the benefits of traveling on the Silk Road? Well, first, people were introduced to new goods and they were introduced to new items. People, travelers, traders, they could take these new goods, they could take these new items, bring them back home, bring them back to a new place and make money off of it. This resulted in a strong economy, and an economy that worked for everybody. This kept everybody on the same page. It was able to maintain peace throughout these different regions. Did you ever hear of the slogan, the saying, "It's not broken, don't fix it"? That's exactly a case of this. And lastly, and arguably just as important, these new goods, these new items, it enhanced the quality of life. It made life easier, it made life better. For example, items traded could be used for comfort, they could be used for luxury, like spices. And these spices could help people's food taste better. And carpets as well. Carpets can be used for cleanliness. They can be used for decoration. My last question for you folks at home. What was the life lesson that we learned on the Silk Road? What was the purpose of this adventure that we just went on? I am positive everyone here has amazing answers and ideas to this question. All of it. Everything that we've been doing today ties back to cultural diffusion. Who can recall what this incredibly important term means? Why is it so important for all of us, every single one of us here and outside in the entire world, to experience cultural diffusion? Why is it important to let your guard down? Why is it important to learn from people who might believe in different things or not look like you or I? Sure, you might get a new tasty recipe or learn a new craft or maybe be introduced to a new religion. But cultural diffusion helps us understand the cultures, the feelings, the actions of different groups of people. We learn to appreciate them, respect them, empathize for them. Think back to our journey where we would have been communicating with people of different looks, of different religions, of different languages. In the end, we didn't just gain new items on the Silk Road. We gained a new understanding for the people across the world. I leave you with this, adventure seekers. Look around you. I mean it. Just look around you. What do you see that might have come from another culture? Think about your favorite foods, or the holidays you may celebrate, or the sports you might play. Did they come from here? Or did they come from another place and another group of people? Our world is connected. Our cultures are blended. Sometimes all we need is a journey on the Silk Road to remember that.